You're in a room with no doors, no windows. The only light is from a small lamp in the corner. And the only voice you hear, day after day, is the person who locks you in there. At first, you hate them. You resent them. You plot your escape. But slowly, something strange happens. You begin to feel safe with them. You begin to trust them. Maybe even, God forbid, like them. This sounds like the opening scene from a psychological thriller, doesn't it? But here's the twist. You don't need to be kidnapped for this to happen. Many of us are living our own versions of Stockholm Syndrome right now, and we don't even know it. So Stockholm Syndrome is a psychological phenomenon where a victim develops loyalty, empathy, or even affection for their captor. It's named after a 1973 bank robbery in Sweden where hostages ended up defending their kidnappers. But here's where it gets unsettling. The captor in your life might not be a person with a gun. It could be your job that drains you but pays you enough to keep you from leaving. It could be a relationship that hurts you but you cling onto it because you fear being alone. It could even be your own comfort zone, warm, familiar and quietly suffocating you. So I want you to close your eyes and think about the captors in your own life. Not literal people, but systems, routines, or beliefs that you have tied up or that have you tied up. Maybe it's that boss who micromanages you, yet you tell yourself, at least I have job security. Maybe it's your unhealthy eating patterns, yet you tell yourself, it's just who I am. Maybe it's the city you live in that feels too expensive, too loud, too limiting, yet the thought of moving terrifies you more than staying. Or it's a city that bores you to death and you need to go out into the real world. Ask yourself, are you loyal to something that's holding you back simply because it's familiar? Is this Stockholm Syndrome what's actually holding you back? You've grown an affection for the very things that are kidnapping you and hindering your progress rather than harnessing it. So here's why this happens. The human brain is wired to prioritise safety and predictability over happiness. In high stress or prolonged dependency situations, our mind starts reframing the captor as a predator. In a toxic job, your boss becomes the person who signs a paycheck, not the one who stifles you. In a bad relationship, the person who causes pain becomes the one who understands you the best. In your comfort zone, the boredom becomes peace. We create mental stories that justify our situation because those stories stop us from feeling the crushing weight of admitting I'm stuck. I remember I once coached a guy, let's call him Daniel for the purpose of this, he'd been at the same company for 17 years. His boss abused him verbally, his workload was extensive, relentless, and yet every time I asked him if he'd ever thought about leaving, he'd say, I couldn't do that. They've been good to me. That's Stockholm Syndrome right there. Not to a kidnapper, but to a circumstance. Or take Sarah, who stayed with her fiancé for 6 years, even though she cried almost every night. When her friends asked, she said, he knows me better than anyone else. Who else would I be with? She wasn't staying for love, she was staying for familiarity. Think about this. What if you're not chasing happiness? You're just avoiding uncertainty. When you've been somewhere long enough, a job, a town, a relationship, even a mindset, leaving can feel like betrayal. You start defending the very thing that's kept you trapped. The very thing that you hate is the thing that you lean on as to why you like it. You stop dreaming about what's possible and start telling yourself, it's not so bad. So how can we break free of these psychological traps? We need to name the captor first of all. You need to understand who or what it is. You can't escape what you don't or won't acknowledge. Write down the job, the relationship, the habit, or belief that feels safe but stagnant. Interrupt the story. Ask yourself, if my best friend were in this situation, would I tell them to stay? This flips the emotional lens. Suddenly you see the truth without the self-deception. And then redefine safety. Real safety isn't staying where you are. Real safety is having the ability to leave and the confidence you'll be okay, that it'll all work out in the end. So here's the truth. You don't owe loyalty to a cage, no matter how comfortable it is. And if you're sitting there thinking, but I've been here so long, it's too late to start over, I want you to imagine this. You wake up 10 years from now, same job, same relationship, same habits, same excuses. How does that feel? If the answer makes your stomach sink, then maybe, just maybe, it's time to walk around or walk toward the uncertainty instead of defending the familiar. Because life's too short to love your captor. Think about Theon Greyjoy, I believe, in Game of Thrones, where his sister tried to help him escape out of the cage, and yet the man who chopped his penis off, he felt loyalty to. He actually ran back in the cage even though he could escape. Was it Ramsay? I think it was Ramsay, the guy who obviously bullied him. And that is actually what happens in real life. Sometimes the very thing that's destroyed us, and I remember his sister saying in that when she was on the boat, I think it was, aren't you going to go back and save him again? And she said, oh, my brother's dead, because he died. He's a different person now. And that's what is happening to us, what's happening to you. You aren't the person you should be, because you are falling foul to Stockholm Syndrome in a very big way.